Welcome back. Should we be buying the market right now or should we be selling? And by selling, I mean, should we be out the market? Should we be waiting for from the sidelines, waiting to get some positions in? What should we be doing right now? Now, I'm going to answer this question without my personal opinion. I'm going to show you the risk versus reward, and I'm going to show you the data at the moment, and the data and the risk versus reward will ultimately answer the question for us. So let's do this. Now, to begin with, what are we currently looking at? We're looking at the chart dating back to 2020. Now, why 2020? Because this is exactly where we were. This is where we were around this time 4 years ago. And not only that, we also had the US elections in 2020 as well, right? And not only that, the charting pattern looks very, very similar, right? I guess we can also do the end of November. So that's where basically our all-time highs matched up to the 2020 all-time highs matched up to 2017, right? So we see 19,000. End of November, we're at around the same price, right? So we can look at both these examples. And why? Because essentially we're looking at the same thing. So 2021 all-time highs, and then we're pretty much around the all-time high area now, right? So let's go back into that, right? Let's go back into it. So what is the data currently telling us? Now, there's a few things. Number one, we have the Federal Reserve looking to pivot. 90% chance they cut interest rates in September. For those of you who do not know what that means, interest rates go down, asset prices go up, stocks go up, gold goes up, etc., etc. Crypto should also go up as well, right? So a cut in interest rates should lead to a stock market boom, right? So that's number one. Number two, we have the US elections as well, which is going to be in an event all on its own, right? So that's also coming up, right? So we have two main pieces of data, both data dating back as far as we can remember, lead to bullish outcomes. We saw that in 2020. If we go back to 2016, we'll see the exact same thing as well. Again, don't take my word for it. Go back and look at the chart. Right now, of course, past performance is no indicator of future success. So let's just look at the risk versus reward. So let's just say we decide to buy right now, right? So we decided to buy in 2020, and the downside risk would take us all the way back to our yearly lows that year. So that would have been a 63% sell-off, right? So you're down 63% on your money. And of course, remember, this is just Bitcoin, right? If it's altcoins, you're looking at a drawdown, which is going to be a lot larger, maybe 70%, 80% with some coins, right? So I just want to put that out there so you can understand what happens if price sells off from this area. Now, that's a 63% downside risk. But to the upside, and remember, we don't know it. Let's just presume we don't know any of this is going to happen. But the upside risk, the upside gain, back to our all-time highs is 85%. So 85%. Now, 62% potential downside, 85% potential upside. Even then, the risk to reward is good, but it's not amazing, right? So you need more data for one to actually take, to go all in at this time. Now, we had the US elections coming up. Again, you can go back and see typically how the market performs leading up to the US election. Now, this would have been the catalyst that would have made us want to pull the trigger. So we could be looking at not just 85%, but let's just say we see price go up to, double that, right? So we see price maybe go up to 141% or so. So 141% potential downside, 63%. Now remember, the only reason why we're excited about this upside move is not just for Bitcoin, but also because of altcoins. Remember, when Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go up aggressively as well. So this is essentially what we are betting on. And not only do we see 145% percentage point move which happened for Bitcoin pretty fast, but we saw price hit a peak in March the following year of 476% from that entry point. In altcoins, again, I don't need to tell many of you, the type of performances, the type of gains that we saw for altcoins around this time. For those of you that are new here, we saw individual altcoin projects go up 5,000%, 10,000%, 3,000%, 1,000%. These are the kind of gains we saw for individual projects in the market, right? So exciting times. Now, you can see here, taking this risk would have been the best bet. But why would we have taken the bet? Number one, the risk versus reward played out. That's number one. Number two, we had fundamental data on our side, which would have made us pull the trigger despite only an 85% upside move, right? And overall, the market sentiment at the time was fairly, not necessarily bullish, but the overall macro data was looking good, right? It looked like we could see an upside move. So those would be the trigger points, and it paid off incredibly well. Now, what we're looking at right now is the same thing, the exact same picture, right? We're at a pivotal level, and to be honest with you, the risk versus reward is even better now because there's not actually that much risk, in my personal opinion, right? Because once price breaks below a certain level, that would be your cue to exit the market right away. Well, not necessarily exit, but you could just decide to exit all you want, or you could decide to pull at least 50% of your position off the table. Maybe it's time to pull even more than that, right? But you will ultimately know that if price falls below a certain level, and you can obviously take advantage of some of those opportunities that are presented if that happens, right? So we are at one of those levels. So essentially, this should be the easiest decision for most of you that are sitting from the sidelines, because the risk versus reward is better than we saw in 2020 at the moment, right? So I would say to anybody that's sitting on the sideline, you're concerned, you're seeing all the data online, you don't know what to do, I would ignore the data, and I would say to myself, well, if Bitcoin falls below a certain level, right? Again, if you want to know what these levels are and more, join CC Premium. We have all of this mapped out, so you don't have to do any of this work, right? Then you can start moving to stable coins, etc., and start planning out your game plan to maybe DCA on some of the products that will fall in value if, of course, that event does take place. So you can literally just rinse and repeat, watch the market fall, use those stable coins to buy some of those projects at the lows and make more money than you would have if you just left it all in, right? So there's that. But that's all you have to do at this point. And of course, position yourselves in the right altcoins so you can capture when the market breaks out and potentially repeats this, you capture those 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 percentage point gains on individual projects. So I think right now it's in my opinion one of the lowest risk periods in the market at the moment. And remember, this isn't 2020 where BlackRock were telling you to stay away from crypto, JP Morgan telling you to stay away from crypto, Warren Buffett telling you to stay away from crypto. Now, BlackRock are in the market. They've said that they're looking at Bitcoin as the digital gold, a store of value now. We've got Bitcoin ETFs. We have Ethereum ETFs. So the risk has dramatically increased, quote unquote. Of course, you will need a game plan just in case we do fall through the floor. But ultimately, if you're in the right projects now, if you're positioned well, you could make an absolute fortune with less than 5% downside risk. If you want to find out how to do that, join CC Premium now, because this is exactly what we are personally doing. But I wish you all the best. Only you will know what's best for you. I hope this video has given you a deeper insight. But this I think this opportunity that has presented itself is going to be the big one, right? And remember, if you wait on the sidelines and you miss the initial pump, your gains reduce dramatically, right? So even if you waited, let's say you waited, till just after the elections to get in on Bitcoin in 2020, and you decide to buy at all-time highs, well, you only make 223% gains at the end of at the first peak at least, right? And obviously altcoins, you would have made a bit more as well, but your gains are completely slashed in half. So do the right thing, take action, and remember, this is the last cycle. So take advantage of it. Seize the day.